all issues of de facto color of law legislation that they've been operating and putting on the planet since 1871. So, the United States is the private corporation belonging to the Popes of Rome, operated and regulated through the bar members that you know as the Bar Association, which in the Bible would be called Pharisees and Sadducees. You call them now lawyers and attorneys. Did you not know that they was the Pharisees and the Sadducees? Duh. All the paperwork that they be sending you, the marriage certificates and the birth certificates and all of this stuff comes from them. This is why they always come into all of your estates after they signify, get men and women battling each other. Soon as they get married with that private contract, which they're treated as ships in the night, and the corporate state comes in and rapes them. And they've been doing it for quite some time. It got not a damn thing to do with anything divine. It's a spell cast for human trafficking. All marriage certificates sold by the corporate states are cast spells of the priesthood, regulated by the Roman members of the Roman Curia, registered and regulated from Fleet Street, England. They ran out of them. Now they got the birth certificates. It ain't nothing new. It's just that some of the people starting to think and found out about, the birth certificates are really bank bonds. Notice the number over here and stuff, and notice the Cusick number on Social Security. Whoa, we didn't know this. And nobody talked about the marriage certificates, did they? The whole bunch and caboodle of all of the bull is going down the tubes. Wake up, y'all. They're all Christian Black codes operations of bottomry instrumentality for human trafficking. And that's not a maybe, that's a fact. Grow up, start taking responsibility, and find your God within. You ain't out there in the sky. Something out there that you've been calling gods, but they ain't not exactly what you've been thinking. When we was talking earlier, Dr. Naila, one of your poems, I was when we were talking earlier, and I said, "Oh, can you read that?" Because that was apropos to really even this. Because remember, we're talking about the Christian Black codes because they've been operative for a couple hundred years to destroy the people and to destroy the families of Aboriginal people. And you just simply need to know the tool that has been used. When you see the operations of all the municipal operations, the taxation, what they will call the regency regulations, you see zoning, all of these have their root in the Christian Black codes. All the political operations that you think is separate or something that they've done with some intelligence of metrology, no, it's Christian Black codes. And so now wake up, get real, put on your armor, stop being docile, and start rejecting Rome at every point, every angle, and stop giving the U.S. corporation jurisdiction. It's not a country. That is the pocketbook and the collection arm and the war arm for the Roman Curia operators through the Roman Catholic Church, the P2 Masons, and the Vatican. That's the truth. However, at the same time, some of these institutions, though still in power, are being dismantled. That's the disruption that you're experiencing, including them stealing personalities and souls and putting out the oxygen. So to slow down the operations of the third eye, which you know as the pineal gland. And so they put a mask on you. And you know what mask means? It means person. Personality means mask. Don't think that they're not operating metaphysically either, because they are. Christian Black codes, Constantine. But they thought nobody was going to come and get them, because they've been murdering everybody for decades. They thought they was going to get this off, didn't they? Well, Divine got another argument for him. The Cosmic Mother, she kind of pissed a little bit Just speak it lightly. Any other questions?
I am trying to see that. Okay, I'm starting up from the bottom and moving back up. So here's one.
Mm-hmm.
Grand Sheik, how should our daughters, this is from Because I Said So, how should our daughters marry at this point? They each will marry in 2022. How should we instruct them? Thank you.
Number one, your main instruction is that you got to get away from Rome and understand that the U.S. corporation and all municipalities are members of the Roman Curia. If you want to serve Rome, send them to them. If you don't, pull them away from Rome and take responsibility. There we go. That's your answer. Do all of your honorable obligations within your family, outside of the jurisdiction of the corporate state. All corporate state operations are frauds created by Rome for human destruction.
So actually, they can have a commitment ceremony.
You got that absolutely right.
Commitment ceremony with the.
You got that. We'll talk about that in the future, as a matter of fact, of some details on what you can do and what is your avail to you to do. It's just that we haven't. See, this is what has been happening to us. We've been groomed to believe outside of ourselves. We've been groomed to look for the answers from the enemy who've been lynching our mothers and fathers. We've been looking for the ones who've been killing our babies to save our babies. Well, guess what? You got to stop doing that.
Okay, here's another one. You hear that song?
Fireworks.
Fireworks or something. What would be the meaning? Shalom, peace. Dr. G, why haven't Moors claimed mounds and grounds in North Morocco via Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People and created communities?
Consciousness, everything that's going on right now. What you see is what you call transfer of power. We're in a transitional stage. People who are alleged to be conscious and people who are becoming conscious are all still in transitional stage. Our conversations now are just to make things more malleable, to make this travel a little bit more peaceful for the people, to promote cognizance and more consciousness and self-responsibility among our people. Because everything, all your answers will actually come from within, truthfully. However, right now we're sharing with each other to help each other along. But anything I say, truthfully, you already knew.
Here's another question from JB. Question for beloved Tarik Bey. The so-called United Nations in assembly, I guess, it's really United Corporations and
yes,
Assembly.
It belongs to the Pope. All of those institutions that have been presented to our people in the name of helping humanity have actually been disguised platforms for genocide against humanity. That's the truth. One of the, for those of you who may have a Circle 7 Quran from the Moorish Holy Temple of Science and the Moorish Science Temple of America, note that within the different surahs or the different chapters in the Quran, you'll notice that chapter 1 is the only chapter that is not enumerated. All the other chapters are enumerated. Pay attention to that fact. Read chapter 1, break down each paragraph, and you'll see the past, the present, and the future. And the underlying messages that Drew Ali was presenting to the Moors of North America, who have been called Negro, black, colored, Indians, West Indians, etc. All of whom are ancient Canaanite Moabites. That's a fact. Get over it. Accept that you've done good and you've done bad. Grow up, take responsibility, and help start fixing things for humanity at large.
Here's a question from Milton McGowan. Wasn't 1871 the year corporate entities consolidated power under the Lloyd's Act of London?
Of course. That's why they all have what you call those Dun and Bradstreet numbers. All of them have them. All the corporate entities. That's another reason why, like, even when you're doing any business by force or anything with any of these persons or agencies, agents who are claiming to have authority as government, why don't you ask them what their business Dun and Bradstreet numbers, and you'll find out they're all corporations registered in London and in England. And the idea that people have an American country, America's a continent. Get over it. America's not a country. And the United States is a private corporation for human trafficking and conquest purposes. Has no what you would call de jure operations. None. Nada. That's why the world's in shape that it's in. People have given them strength. People have given them jurisdiction. People have supported them. And what have they done? They've been murdering your children, eating them, breaking up your relationships, and stealing your estates. Name some good that they've really done. Don't hold your breath while doing it, though. And don't think these things have not been known. People who have known these things have been silenced, cut off, murdered, suppressed, imprisoned, and everything else negative. You want me to read a few more of the Black Codes?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to read share with you a few more of the Christian Black Codes. Christian Black Code 1724. And you'll recognize some of these policies that are enforced in different municipalities under different corporate states across our land. Article 13. We forbid slaves belonging to different masters to gather in crowds either by day or by night under the pretext of wedding or any other cause, either at the dwelling or on the grounds of one of their masters or elsewhere, and much less on the highways or in secluded places under the penalty of corporal punishment, which shall not be less than the whip. In case of frequent offenses of the kind, the offenders shall be branded with the mark of the fleur de lis, and should there be aggravating circumstances, capital punishment may be applied at the discretion of the judges. And we command all of our subjects, be they officials or not, to seize all such offenders or arrest or conduct them to prison, although there should be not judgment against them. Now you understand what the members of the gangs of New York have been doing to the people on the street, and you all been calling them law officers, and they're really Roman soldiers. Christian Black Codes, y'all. It ain't hidden. It's just that we haven't been paying attention. We've been sitting around talking about, and they're racist, and they got make racist sandwiches, and they shouldn't be passing out racist sandwiches in the black, green, and purple communities of the blackness of the purple people. Imbecilic statements where people really don't comprehend reality. Wake up, grow up, and start dealing with reality. Because that's what's been doing stuff to you. The people who've been claiming de facto to be your government and the municipal officers of the private corporation enforcing their Christian black codes, and then getting you to run around talk about racism. Total diversion. Total diversion. Stop playing victim. Take responsibility. Is there something else, Dr. Marley? I'll read another code while you're looking at something else. Article 14, Christian Black Code 1724. Masters who shall, because all you need to do is take the word master and put it into city, borough, city of Philadelphia, city of Wilmington, city of Newark, etc. They take the place under Manumission rules, the corporate responsibility of persons and property, and they designate the people under person of the corpse of the dead for the benefit of the municipalities under the corporate states, under the corporate union corporation, United States, under the secret treaty of Verona, delivered to the circle church and the chancery members to be regulated, delivered to the fake queen, and delivered to the bishopric or the clergy of the popes of Rome. That's what's been running this thing. And everything they've been doing to you, hey, the Chinese did, and then the Russians took your sandwiches. No, it's Rome and the bishopric. So, Article 14, masters who shall be convicted of having permitted or tolerated such gatherings as foresaid are composed of other slaves than their own shall be sentenced individually to indemnity and their neighbors for the damages occasioned by such gatherings, and to pay for the first time a fine of 30 lire and double that sum on the repetitions of the offense. Article 15, we forbid Negroes to sell any commodities. Now you understand why they have licenses to even do business or trade, stealing your labor and your property. We forbid Negroes to sell any commodities, provisions, or to produce or produce of any kind without the written permission of their masters and without wearing their known marks or badges. And any persons purchasing anything from Negroes in violation of this article shall be sentenced to pay a fine of 1,500 lire. Now you understand where licenses and permits for you to even trade among each other, even to braid your own hair, where it comes from, the black codes. So don't you be thinking that these persons and people operating in these municipalities are unaware of the origin of those regulations upon the people, imposed upon people, that they've been using to rob the people of their rights and their liberties and their property and of their labor. Christian black codes, Constantine order, Niceno-Constantinopolitan creed operations pretending to be Christians, conquering the Western Hemisphere, sometimes called European colonialism or hybrid European hegemony, falsely also called white supremacy. Get real. Is there anything else? If you want me, I'll read some more. All right, Article 16, 17, 18, and 19 provides a length for the clothing of slaves and for their subsistence. Article 20, slaves who shall not be properly fed, clad, or provided for by their masters may give information thereof to the Attorney General of the Superior Council or to all the officers of an inferior jurisdiction, and may put the written exposition of their wrongs into their hands, upon which information, and even ex officio, shall the information come from another quarter, the Attorney General shall prosecute said masters without charging any cost to the complainant. It is our will that this regulation be observed, and all accusations or crimes or barbarous and inhumane treatment brought by slaves against their masters. That's where you get the Department of so-called Child Welfare and Human Services. That's where that comes from. In case you didn't know, and those politicians who pretend they don't know what they've really been using, see what they do, they steal all your substance and then put you under a false jurisdiction to give you pittance of some of your own estate back, and then put you in debt for it, and then regulate your family under the guise of helping you. Article 21, slaves who are disabled from working either by old age, disease, or otherwise, be the diseases incurable or not, shall be fed and provided for by their masters, and in case they should have been abandoned by said master, said slave shall be adjudged to the nearest hospital, to which said master shall be obliged to pay 8 cents a day for the food and maintenance of each one of these slaves, and for the payment of this sum, said hospital shall have a lien on the plantation of the masters. Now you understand how they've been stealing your labor, and then after they've used up your body and your labor and your age, then they have what they call nursing homes for you to send those who have been made sickly by all of the crap they've been feeding you. State property. Don't think that these politicians who've been making all these regulations of these municipalities and these so-called council people aren't aware of the Christian Black codes, because they use them to legislate from. And they don't vary from it either. They just change the words, change the structure. But the whole platform is about human trafficking and human regulation and taxation of your labor under the guise of being your government. They're not your government, they're your enemy. But since you all haven't accepted that, they're showing you every angle that they're not your friend. So we don't have to convince you at all, because they're kicking your asses left and right. You got any cheeks left? Want me to read another one?
Yes.
Article 22. We declare that slaves have no right to any kind of property, but that all that they acquire, either by their own industry or by the ability of others, or by any other means or title, whatever shall be the full property of their masters, and the children of said slaves, their fathers, their mothers, their kindred, and other relation, either free or slave, shall have no pretensions or claim thereto, either through testamentary or positions or donations inter vivos, which dispositions and donations we declare null and void, and also whatever promise they may have entered into by persons incapable of disposing of anything and or participating to any contract. Now you understand why they tax you on everything, on your labor, on your wages, and sign you as a corporate person. And every time they even write from the municipality, they will have the nomen in all capital letters, because the estate of all things that you thought you possessed, they have claimed under unum sanctum and the doctrine of discovery. And you have no right of property or person or of labor or of any inheritance. There's your municipal codes. So you can pretend that you never read this stuff, and you can pretend that those politicians that you keep voting for didn't know this. All of their rules come from the Christian Black codes of the Constantine order, Oh,
I never heard of that before.
yeah, but you live it every day. And you see them enforcing it on the street by beating people up, ritually murdering people on the street. And now you know why nothing happens that appears to be even remotely justice. So are you going to keep on supporting these people? You going to keep on trying to be a part of them? Keep it up. They're going to show you the demons, who they really are. Many of you are not convinced yet. You need a little bit more pain. Some need a lot more pain. Article 24, slaves shall be incapable of all public functions and of being constituted agents for any other person than their own masters, with powers to manage or to conduct any kind of trade, nor can they serve as arbiters or experts, nor shall they be called to give their testimony either in civil or criminal cases, except when it shall be a matter of necessity and only in default of white people. But in no case shall they be permitted to serve as witness either for or against their masters. Now you see why it's so difficult for you to sue corporate state agents when they do stuff to you, your family, steal your children, and do all kind of stuff. Christian black codes. And all these administrators are using them for guidance to their legislation. All of your municipal, city, and borough operations are based in the Christian black codes. So you've been sitting around talking about racism and prejudice, and it's the Christian black codes of the Constantine order, of the Bishopric of Rome. And you keep talking about voting for them.
I got a right to vote. I'm marching for my right to vote.
Duh. I know that a lot of the adults are so compromised and corrupted and hypocritical that they will reject this altogether. However, mothers are bringing youth in, and the youth will come into this consciousness with their eyes wide open and will help clean this mess up. For the most part, this is for you all. I'm not trying to argue with the old heads who've been selling themselves out and selling their babies and pretending to be Jesus freaks or Allah lovers. You know, they can do what they want to do. The Aquarian age is for the newborn and the unborn. And this is just a small message to help us along.
Here's a question while you're running from paper claim. What should we study in order to remove ourselves from Rome?
First, knowing that Rome is Rome and Rome is not your country. That's the first thing. It's back to, why have our people been supporting institutions and agencies with their labor, their taxes, their services, their so-called vote, their dedication, is because they thought these institutions presented for them or represented them. Once you know, and you know now, that they never did, they're all parasitic, that's enough for you to start rejecting them. That's your answer. And using your own intelligence and look within, because it's all within you. You just have not believed in yourselves. You've been believing in everybody outside, including the idol god worships they've been selling you at a severely high and non-productive cost. Take responsibility. That's how. And information-wise, you've been given this information for quite some time. Whether or not you've been paying attention, that's another issue. Is there anything else you want me to read another one?
Please continue.
Please
continue.
Excuse me. Slaves may be prosecuted criminally without their masters being made parties to the trial. These are those what you call trials in absentia type things they've been doing to our people. Except they should be indicted as accomplices, and said slaves shall be tried at first by the judges of ordinary jurisdiction, and if there be any, and on appeal by the superior council, with the same rules, formalities, and proceedings observed for free persons, save the exceptions mentioned hereafter. And keep in mind, this is where our people keep recognizing when they keep on seeing this so-called double standard of law that they keep arguing about. Well, there it is. There it is. It's not an attitude. It's written. You know, and this is back to, you know, like last year and a few years ago, every once in a while we'll do a reminder class or rehash jurisdictions and understanding jurisdictions and the important for our people to understand jurisdictions, what creates them, what their categories are, the challenging of jurisdiction, which would be called quo warrantos or averment of jurisdiction, why they exist, mandamuses, also being in proper person so that you can even have the capacity to even make an argument. Under the Black Codes, you don't even have the capacity to even make an argument because it's a dead status, which Barack Obama told us, our people, it was. So why people even complain about him, at least he told them that, didn't he? He told people that blacks are dead status. They can't say that he didn't say that because he did.
Someone asked, I can't pronounce the name, appellation, do Moors have a relocation plan?
Why?
It's where we got to go.
It's your house. Why? How about do the hybrids have a relocation plan? Do you think they're going to steal the land and steal the people and they're going to retain it? They may think so. I don't think so.
Taj, Hood Comedies. Taj talk about how a passport means, I guess, you're a U.S. citizen. Some more teach that they put the free national name on the passport. But it is all in capital letters. Can you explain that?
Yes. Anything that's created by the corporate state is a corpse, is dead, and is de facto. That's the fact. Now, when are our people going to stop supporting all these institutions that put you on your knees to get your head chopped off? And when are you going to put your energy together to reestablish your own consular venues that are the law communications all over the world? It's not that they ain't in place. Have you been exercising it? Have you been helping those who've been trying to get you to do that, exercise your obligations to your affairs with the rest of the families of nations, which is a consular venue of diversity, of nationality, all over the planet, which is a constitutional and treaty issue, not some U.S. passport, which is an imposition under maritime law, claiming the vessels of the living man and women, of the sentient man and women, to be a ship under maritime law. That's what a passport is for, ships, not for humans. So let's work on working that out, shouldn't we? Shouldn't we be? So when we're talking about rights and lands, then land jurisdiction distinguished from maritime jurisdiction. Isn't a passport a maritime jurisdiction?
Mhm.
Oh, well, don't we have work to do, you all? And keep in mind, the U.S. is not a country, it's a private corporation constructed specifically for human trafficking. Specifically for human trafficking. Even their courts are what? Traffic courts. Human trafficking.
I told you what they did try to do to me with when they said I was speeding and I went and protested, and
Convert a right into a maritime trafficking.
they offered me a PBJ, which means a plea before judgment.
Mm-hmm.
So you just pay,
Mm-hmm.
and I refused.
Mm-hmm. And you could beat it all together too.
Well,
the jurisdiction of the fraud. This is for people, as a matter of fact, Dr. Naila, for all the scholars out there, because you already know that the Curia members will always send trolls out, right? Show in the Constitution for the United States or any treaty where traffic court was established under the jurisdictional powers of and for the United States. Show it. Show it. You can't and you won't, because it doesn't exist. It's a fraud. And everything concerning it is a fraud. But they've gotten away with it because you've accepted their fake jurisdictions and you never challenged it. Anything else, Dr. Naila? We're going to read a few more of these black codes.
yeah, I think they're wanting to hear the different codes because
let's read 36. The slave who was sentenced to suffer death on the denunciation of their master shall, when the master is not an accomplice to the crime, be appraised before his execution by two of the principal inhabitants of the locality, who shall be especially appointed by the judge, and the amount of said appraisement shall be paid to the master to raise the sum, and shall be collected by the persons invested with that authority. So you can see when agent representatives of the gangs of New York are sent out on behalf of the corporate state, the corporate state would be politically referred to as the master. So when you see in the Christian Black Codes master, just change it to the corporate state, whether you're dealing with the mayor or the governor, etc., or any agents or agencies sent out to feed upon the people by them. Those would be called contractors. And they're delegated what you would call, or given what you would call, pledged authority to the corporate exercise. This is why for our people who don't really comprehend some of these principles, why when you do any research in Supreme Court cases concerning so-called, and this is a designed statement, so-called police brutality, and you will see all Supreme Court cases will demonstrate or rule that the obligations of the police is not to the people, but to the corporations. That's a fact. Just a reminder so you comprehend what's going on out in these streets on your land with these demons who you've been thinking was your government, who are not your government, never were. Article 37, we forbid all the officers of the Superior Council and all our other officers of the justice in the colony to take any fees, or receive any perquisites in criminal suits against slaves under the penalty, and in so doing of being dealt with as guilty of extortion. Article 38. We also forbid all our subjects in this colony, whatever their condition or rank may be, to apply on their own private authority the rack of their slaves under the pretense whatever, under any pretense whatever, and to mutilate said slaves in any one of their limbs or in any part of their bodies, under the penalty of confiscation of said slave, a master so offending shall be liable to a criminal prosecution. We only permit masters, when they shall think that the case requires it, to put their slaves in irons and to have them whipped and rode or roped. Now, with Article 38, now you understand where people be sitting around talking about, they're packing 80% of the people in prisons are blacks and Puerto Ricans and everything, and this is racist and stuff. No, it's the Christian black codes. And those are tags put on Moors under subjects. They are not pedigree identities. Blacks and Puerto Ricans or Latinos are not pedigree identities or historical pedigrees of peoples. They are tags put upon defeated Moors by the hybrid Europeans, regulated by members of the Circle Church and Chantry, with all jurisdictional powers run from Fleet Street, England, delivered to Washington, D.C., then distributed to the different municipalities and the corporate states or states of jurisdictions, distinguished from state republic jurisdictions, which were overthrown. Thank you very much. They're all run by the Christian black codes. That's where you get those abuses from. Article 43. Husbands and wives shall not be seized and sold separately when belonging to the same master, and their children whom under 14 years of age shall not be separated from their parents, and such seizures and sales shall be null and void. The present article shall apply to voluntary sales, and in such cases, sales should take place in violation of the law. The seller shall be deprived of the slave he was illegally retained, and said slave shall be adjudged to the purchase without any additional. Article 44, slaves 14 years old and from this age up to 60 who are settled on lands and plantations and are at present working on them shall not be liable to seizure for debt, except for what may be due out of the purchase money agreed to be paid for them, unless said grounds or plantations shall be distressed and seized, and judicial sale of a real estate without including the slave of the aforesaid age who are part of said estate shall be deemed null and void.
So, that sounds like what came to mind when you're reading that, when we're talking about the issue now about the border and unaccompanied minors.
Yes. All of that operation is still the black codes. And people keep looking at, well, where's due process? They're not constitutional operators. They're organized criminals. They're not your government. They're Roman curate members. That's a fact. Our people, it's hard for our people to accept that among the hybrids operating in North America, that these people are Roman curia members and that they're carrying out the rules of Rome. They're not carrying out justice. They don't love Jesus. They just use him as a front. They don't love Muhammad and they don't love the Prophet. They don't love Allah. They're using them as a front. They use them as a front to get the people's trust. Then you start dealing with them and they screw you every time. And you ain't caught on yet. It's not racism. It's the Christian black codes.
For Dr. G, you took the plea. No, I did not take the plea, Sade. I was a city official and they just dismissed it. I didn't plea anything. you know, with that ticket, Grand Sheik.
Mm.
Someone said I took the plea. I didn't take the plea.
I didn't take the plea.
I didn't take the plea. I you know, I
And
said
even then, it's interesting because
when I
you weren't
when I showed up, I sat there for 15 minutes. When after they released me on my OR,
Mhm.
I came back for court, and I sat there for 15 minutes. They said dismissed. It was dismissed. I never even went in the courtroom,
Mhm.
so-called courtroom. I sat out there, but I was a city official.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I didn't plead.
Yeah, of course you're not, because that admits the jurisdiction. Keep that in mind.
Right.
They had no jurisdiction in the first place.
Yeah, I didn't plead.
Article 50. Masters, when 25 years old, shall have the power to manumit their slaves. And I suggest that y'all who are listening, look up the word manumit. So when you have these so-called black scholars talking about freed slaves and manumitters, and we was manumitted in 1865 and Juneteenth and all this stuff, that's BS. You've been played and you're being played. Manumission does not mean liberation. You better believe that. Like for real, for real, for real. Masters, when 25 years old, shall have the power to manumit their slaves either by testamentary dispositions or by acts inter vivos. And write that down, inter vivos. That's INTER VIV